RH, quer saber como voar no trabalho? É só usar a Flash. Com a Flash, você concentra toda a gestão de pessoas em um único lugar. Faça a admissão dos colaboradores e solicite mais de 8 categorias de benefícios. Ah, e você ainda pode fazer todo o controle de ponto. Conheça o novo onboarding integrado da Flash em flashapp.com.br.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Global All-Stars Season 1, Episode 8, titled A Rich International Roast. My name is Joe Batanz, and I am joined, as always, by one scalding, caliente co-host.
Ooh.
From Rulaska Thoughts, please say...
You wanted to be here. No one forced you here. No one got a pig prod out and got, no, you get in there. You wanted to be here. You wanted to do this.
To Mr. Roberto Mata.
A good day,
Hello,
Joe. Robert. How are you faring?
Well, we are going to have a big... I'm doing very well. Thank you for that. We had a very good Just Between Us girls. And I want to thank Robert Mata for the really nice little Gabby. You know, little cute thing. Because, you know, one of the things we talked about on Just Between Us girls was whether or not Robert hated me. And I realized that today I said, you know what? You're off the hook for Just Between Us Girls because Lori and I will be recording Hello Uglies, and we do Just Between Us Ghouls on that. And you were like, no, I still want to do it. So people in the executive tier, you're going to get double duty. You're going to get Just Between Us Girls, not double duty, double whatever, double portions, you're going to get Just Between Us Girls and Just Between Us Ghouls, which is a good reminder that Hello Uglies, our Dragula recap show, comes back this week. It returns. Episode 1 drops tonight, actually, on AMC Plus and Shudder. But I want to say this because Robert, I know, doesn't watch Dragula, and people should know this, and any Hello Uglies fan will tell you. You don't have to watch the show. In fact, I would say I'm even more careful in Hello Uglies to make it so you don't have to watch the show. First of all, who has AMC Plus or Shudder?
Yeah,
and
to start.
two, they're pretty easy episodes to follow. And so, like, the joy of Hello Uglies is me and Lori. It's not necessarily the show. And then you can see the looks on YouTube or whatever. So, anyway, for all that, go to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. And join at the executive tier level and above for Just Between Us Ghouls and Girls. Every other show, premium and above. But let's just jump into it because today's going to be a very... Robert, I'm going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much recappy this is going to be, even though I have 2 pages of notes.
I've never had fewer.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're just mostly me saying the same shit about Queen Kong over and over. So
I figured, yeah.
It's very all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy on this page. But we're going to have a big talk at the top of the show after the break, though, about just the show. Maybe we'll do it at the end. I don't know. But so let's jump into it. This week, it's a roast, and the girls take turns reading each other for filth. On the runway, the category is Blow Me Away. In the end, Kitty Scott Claus and Queen Kong share a win, while Pythia and Vanity Vane are placed in the bottom 2. After lip-sync battle for their lives, Vanity lived to see another day, while Pythia was asked to sashay away. Robert Mata, especially knowing that you were a big Pythia fan, what did you think of that lip sync, and did the right queen go home?
Starting with the lip sync, I adore this song. I feel like such a faggot when the opening notes hit and as it builds. I love this song. I'm not even like, I haven't done the requisite gay dive into Celine Dion's entire discography. Like, I have that waiting for me in life. And if this song is indicative of other Celine Dion songs, I'm going to have a great time. Love this song. Priyanka and Kiara lip sync to it on Canada's Drag Race Season 1. And Priyanka's like one of my favorite winners from Drag Race of all the seasons. And I do think Priyanka did better than Vanity and Pythia did. But does that matter? No. But I've seen like little takes on it online. So I wanted to give my 2 cents there. A great lip sync if you could suffer Brooklyn Heights for it, Joe, if you ever want to see it. Loved it.
Well, I think I could probably just see that lip sync and not deal with her, right?
Yeah. And that's what introduced me to the song. And I've adored it since that blustery day in autumn 2020. But, or August. It doesn't matter. Whatever. I don't think Pythia should have been lip syncing, though. I thought that Tessa did a worse job than her, and at least based on the edit, she got significantly fewer laughs than Pythia did. Even though Pythia's delivery in the roast wasn't phenomenal, she was consistently getting laughs and chuckles. I don't think they didn't feel like pity laughs, but regardless, I just don't think Pythia should have been there. All things being as they were, though, I do think Vanity beat her, but I have come to the realization that Vanity sent home like all of my favorites this season. Gala, Pythia, Miranda, and I wouldn't call Eva one of my favorites, but I was excited to see what she was going to do after that talent show. So she's knocked out so many girls, yo. Or actually, did she send home Eva?
She did.
Or did she just lip sync against her in the top 2? It's been a long season.
No, I heard her say that she sent home Eva.
Well, regardless, she sent home a lot of my favorite girls. That said, I don't have any ill will towards Vanity Vane. I'm a little confused about why she's still around, but I guess we'll see why maybe next episode. I don't know. What do you think? What have you been thinking?
If I'm just answering that question that I posed to you, the 2 questions I posed to you, Vanity Vane wins the lip sync. She does. She was better. In my notes here, I said, one of the fatal... And now, Pythia does say this is the first time she's lip-synced in the history of the show. I'm assuming she was in the finals or something for her season? She was,
but she did have to lip-sync to get there, so it's a slight technical issue, but whatever.
But it felt like she thought that she could have let her outfit, which was a beautiful outfit, that she could let her outfit do the work.
A little bit.
Yeah. And so she didn't give as much because she wanted... I think you have to give a lot to that song, and you couldn't stand there and let the fans blow the ribbons on your outfit as much. And so, but Vanity deserved that win. I do, and look, and she and I will comment on this in the balance of the show. Vanity Vane says at least 3 times, "Am I the lip sync assassin?" And I guess technically she is a lip sync assassin,
Yeah.
But girl. Some of them, like, the lip syncs weren't that good. It wasn't like you're not Peppermint,
No, nothing was that.
Or Coco Montrese.
I wish.
But like you got lucky that they were worse lip syncers than you, I suppose. And I'm not even remember. There might have been a couple where she should have gone home and she didn't. I don't know. But and we're gonna talk about this after the break. But like I told you, by the time we got to that lip sync, and the real thing is here, lip sync, schmip sync, and Pythia went home, and she probably shouldn't have been in the bottom, and maybe Tessa should have been in the bottom. But when you get down to it, Pythia, if I was hosting this show, Joe Batanzas Drag Race, Pythia would not have been in the bottom. Fucking Kitty Scott Claus and Queen Kong would have been in the fucking bottom because I can't fucking stand them. And that would have been, no matter what they did, they could have done the greatest lip syncs ever, and it would have been a double sachet because I cannot stand them. They've ruined this show for me. And I know, there's a thing where it's like, don't send hate to these queens. Send hate. I'm advocating sending hate to these queens. But we're going to talk about this episode and how this episode broke me. And I saw online, I'm not the only one that feels this way, but we'll talk about it right after the break.
A lot of people are dropping this.
Yes. So we'll be back right after this.
Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira, pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Olha o contra-ataque aí. Vem que vem o time avançando rápido pela meio de campo. Bola dominada no pé do camisa 10. Ele vai pra cima, passou pelo primeiro, passou pelo segundo. Invadiu a grande área, vai chutar. Bateu, é gol! Que golaço, minha gente!
A experiência de futebol mais autêntica já criada para os games. Junte-se no 5v5 Rush, a nova maneira de jogar com os amigos e leve seu clube para a vitória. EA Sports FC 25. Dê tudo pelo clube. Já disponível.
And we are back, and the soundboard hiccuped. It was really weird. Okay. You know what I decided, Robert? I think we should talk first about the episode. Now, we'll get into this rant, I don't know, at some point when it's appropriate. But let's get through this first. After Gala's elimination, everyone congratulates Kitty on another win. Tessa shares her feelings and praises Vanity for sending Gala home. I see what I did there. Yeah. Meanwhile, Tessa can't stop herself from uttering cow puns. The next day, Vanity calls herself the lip sync assassin before RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's Maxi Challenge. It's a roast, and as the winner of last week's challenge, Kitty gets the privilege of setting the lineup. Let's stop here for a second. Robert, not much happens here, so if you have notes, feel free to discuss. And I have notes, but
pretty minor stuff.
After the elimination, what do you got?
I should have said this last week, but we were talking about a million other things. I would have loved to have seen Tessa lip sync in that damn inflatable cow outfit. Obviously, the puns wouldn't have worked on a lip sync, but she clearly had some type of character in mind, and I would have liked to see what it was.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I didn't feel this way in the beginning. It's been a growing thing, but if there's a shining spot in this episode, and even in this season, is what a fucking ray of sunshine Tessa Testicle is. And it is funny, she's actually, as awful as this episode is, and made me hate everyone involved with it, she is this beautiful little ray of sunshine that I think is so funny, and just so full of just joy and life. I'm sure she's a rotted, hateful queen in real life, but the person she's portraying in this show is very lovable, and yeah. I'm loving her.
I've been relating to her on a very minor standpoint, vaguely related to cows. I noticed that when she's out of drag, she has this cowlick in the back of her head that she just seems to be in perpetual war with. And I also have a fucking cowlick that I can't seem to get the hair to sit down.
Camera on.
Well, regardless, the point is that I just love that fresh out of bed appearance that she has. And it reminded me of, did you ever watch the Tyra show?
When it was on the stupid talk show?
Yeah.
I catch it when it was on. I didn't watch it regularly.
I don't know why it was on at my grandma's one day when I was 11 or 12 or maybe a little older. And Tyra was doing this weird pseudoscience display of a variety of men on stage. And based on the way that their hair swirled and the way that their cowlick was formed, she claimed, and the doctor claimed, that they could identify who was gay and who wasn't. And so little closeted Robert was thinking about my cowlick and however the swirl in the back of my head works. And I'm like, they're going to fuck. Someone's going to grab me by the neck, look at the back of my head and be like, that's a faggot. And, I don't really know how that relates to the cowlick, but that's just where my mind was wandering during this segment.
I could see it. My mind goes weird places during when I'm watching this show too. Any other notes?
This might be a little bit too early, and I'm sure we'll get on this topic soon, but I've noticed that almost every episode, Queen has a joke about how ugly everyone else is. It's eerily consistent.
I have to really, because it gets my blood pressure up, and I don't want to get I feel like my cortisol levels will go up, so I just have to really control and save my. Did you say Queen or Kitty?
Queen. I'm sure Kitty's said similar things as well. Yeah.
No, Kitty is such a fucking cunt in these confessionals. Her things about how stupid or not funny people are.
Yeah.
On her confessionals.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're awful people. They're literally horrible, horrible people. Speaking of Kitty, she goes in there, and I don't know why I wrote this. I don't get the lack of self-awareness on Kitty's part. I wish I'd given myself context there. By the way, so then Pythia, look, you love Pythia, and she seems very sweet and nice.
Mm-hmm.
But she turns to this Vanity Vane. And look, she's entitled to her opinion. But she says that the Mana video is her favorite lip sync in the history of the show. The history of the show, Robert.
There's a lot of that excessive sort of flattery going on because later in the episode, Nehellenia tells Pythia that her outfit's one of the most iconic in the history of the show. Yes. I'm like, what? Maybe, what show are we watching?
Yeah, not this show. Maybe the season.
Maybe the season. I get it. That makes sense. Yeah. The whole history of the whole damn show.
The whole damn show. More than Violet Spider one or whatever that was.
Violet Spider? Do you mean her? The season 8 finale?
Yeah, where we both were.
We both were there, but you were in the nice seats and I was in the cheap seats.
They didn't bring you down?
They should have. No.
They always did. Although, like, why am I paying for this?
Well, I was in the. You can see me in the actual show very quickly. I'm wearing a royal blue shirt and I'm in the front row of the balcony.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out. Okay, so this is an ongoing thing I noticed, but this is the first time I noticed. Oh, this is after the elimination. Oh, yeah. So Kitty and Queen, this is making them even more obnoxious now. They've clearly caught on that they're the favored sons, the favored daughters. And now they're acting, I put it in here, I have a better explanation later in the workroom, but they act like hall monitors now. And they like run, they're basically running, what's that show with Michelle Visage where she talks to him after?
What's after
they're basically doing their what Chapakin there themselves. Like they run but the two of them tag team and run the thing now.
They do.
Oh, what do you think of them? Like, who the fuck are you?
No, who died and made you RuPaul?
Yeah, exactly. They you know, they have this elevated image of themselves, which is so funny because in the beginning, I don't know about Kitty, but for sure Queen was giving deference to Alyssa. But now that Alyssa's been safe every week and they've been, for some reason, the chosen ones, they're like ignoring Alyssa now. They're not mean to her, but in fact, they even show favoritism towards her. But anyway, I don't know. It got me mad. The next day, so you like Vanity Vane. I have a note here. Honestly, Vanity Vane bugs the shit out of me too, but she's lucky to have Kitty and Queen. Oh, okay. I know what I'm saying here.
To buffer your distaste.
Yeah, she is lucky because I hate Kitty and Queen so much. I think if they weren't there, I would be like, this fucking Vanity Vane, man. I just can't stand her. I'm not there because Kitty and Queen take up all my hate, but she does kind of bug. Later on, she's like, for some reason, everybody in Sweden hated me. And I'm like, oh, I know. Call me on the phone and I'll tell you.
I mean, that was kind of funny that she was like, Sweden just didn't get me. And I'm like, Diva, that's your own countrymen.
Yeah. At first, I thought it was a cultural thing. I thought, oh, maybe she's a riot in Sweden, but apparently not.
Well, I never finished Sweden, but I've always wanted to so that I could I really liked Fontana, who's the Brazilian queen on that season. And I'll be down to watch more of Vanity. She's not like a favorite, but I still enjoy her.
And then RuPaul enters laughing for whatever reason, by the way. She comes in laughing. She's like, and I noticed, if you think about this like real life, right? This is we're on episode 8. They are hooping and hollering for her, and she just comes in laughing. I'm like, what a world where every room where RuPaul walks into, people are just clapping and laughing all the time. And then she's laughing. What a bizarre, strange world.
I mean, I will say that is the world that drag queens create for themselves, right?
Yeah. But so she's holding this coffee cup, and they never really gave us a good look at the coffee cup. And I was like, I know they're trying to tie in with a coffee roast.
Yes, very weekly, might I say.
Yeah. But are they selling this merch? Does this mean like, oh, you can go to World of Wonder shop? And I don't know if that's a real thing. But
it is.
You can buy the coffee cup?
Well, I don't know about the coffee cup, but the World of Wonder shop is down the street from me, actually.
Yeah, but is there like a merch store? Is that you live that close to that place?
I mean, it's probably like a mile and a half, not to dox myself, but if I just walk down Hollywood Boulevard.
So let me see here. This World of Wonder merch store. Because it's like, but they didn't mention you can get this.
There used to be that big ass candy store at the Hollywood Highland Mall. That's actually where I met Alyssa Edwards and Laganja for a meet and greet in like 2015. Millions of years ago.
Well, you know, when I was there in the spring, I was thinking because they have like, you know, there's World of Wonders there, and then you can see through the door they have a big bunch of just like
T-shirts.
Empty. Well, no, but also if you look in the building, there's like a lot of space in the front there because they have the little theater next door or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just nothing. It's just like covered in sheets and stuff, right?
And
I'm like,
all the production happens in the basement.
yeah. And I was like, if they were smart, what they would do, and they would make all this money from the stupid fucking faggot tourists, is put the Hall of Fame there.
Oh, that'd be cute. I would walk by it once or twice.
Yeah. The Drag Race Hall of Fame. And then you could get like, you know, what?
That particular stretch of Hollywood Boulevard is what I think most people would call rough.
Girl, don't get me started into the Hollywood Boulevard thing. I'm always.
I mean, all of it's rough. All of it's rough, but it gets rougher in that past.
Yeah, it reminded me of Drag
past
U.
Whitley. Girl, it really was a rough spot.
What'd you fucking say about Drag U? Like she got all Jersey and shit. Okay. In the workroom, Tessa asks Alyssa for advice. Pathia shares her apprehension about the challenge. Queen performs a table visit with Vanity and Nehellenia. And finally, Kitty teases the lineup reveal but never delivers. Later, Graham Norton paid a surprise visit to the workroom to offer a masterclass in roasting. Queen can't stop making jokes. Nehellenia admits she has yet to win a challenge. Tessa doesn't even know if she's funny. Alyssa talks about her roast experience. Pathia takes notes, and Queen wonders how not to get canceled. Finally, Kitty reveals the lineup, and it's elimination day, and the girls get ready for the runway. Queen feels confident. Alyssa gives advice on dealing with negativity from the public, and Vanity reveals that she upset the fans during her season. Let's start with the workroom here, when they're all just kikiing in little groups there. And do you have any thoughts on the workroom when they're just kikiing with each other and all that?
No, just like I said, that Queen will take any chance to talk shit on the girls in confessionals. So I'm like trying to not slip into your dark side of hating her, but goddamn, is this girl making it difficult?
She's hateable. But you know what I'm gonna do? Every time I say something nice, every time I say something horrible about Queen, I'm gonna say something nice about one of the other queens.
Okay.
Anyway, so do any other notes in the workroom?
No, I agree that. Also, that the coffee bit is just it's so unnecessary. And much like last week, I didn't know if the app was real. Now I don't know if the coffee's real.
Yeah, I don't know. They it's just there, but I don't know. It's very, very strange.
Yeah, it's strange. Yes.
So when we focus on Alyssa and Tessa, Alyssa spends the first 30-40 seconds telling Tessa how, you know, this is, you know, a chance for her to redeem herself because the last time she did a roast, she bombed and didn't do well. And now she can redeem herself. And then Tessa, in a very cute way, she's so cute in this scene, then asks Alyssa for advice
on how to be evil.
Oh, how to be evil? Oh, God. Yes. 100% love Tessa. That was a very fun moment. Then it's Kitty with, I don't know who she's sitting next to. I think Pathia. I like how she says, because Pathia's, you know, desperate. And she asks Kitty how she does it. And she goes, I don't know. The jokes just come real easy to me. And I'm like, bitch, you did the most basic roast jokes of all time. She literally, at least, look, and people have talked about this online, but we'll say it here. They need to ban, you know, when I was in college, I took a musical theater class. And girls were not allowed to sing On My Own from Les Miserables, you know?
Yeah.
They need to do the same thing now at Drag Race, where they're like, you're not allowed to say, if you like my set, I'm so-and-so. If you didn't like my set, I'm so-and-so.
Most definitely.
And at least Nehellenia and even Queen did some sort of joke on it, but they shouldn't even be doing that. Those jokes are tired, right?
Yeah.
But Kitty did it. She did it genuinely. She legitimately genuinely said, if you like this roast, I don't know, we're on the roast. Never, okay. But she said the jokes come easy to her, right?
And that they're original. She specifically called out her own originality.
Yes. She goes, I'm always original, babes. Then this RuPaul. Oh, no, I'm not talking about RuPaul. So this is still about Kitty. So RuPaul constantly talks. She used to talk about this a lot on What's the Tea? But about how the problem that queens have, this is how low the show is sunk, is that they'll often go in and try and produce themselves. Mm-hmm. Kitty and Queen, but in this moment specifically talking about Kitty, they so produce themselves so hard. So Kitty's doing this thing where Pythia, now you guys aren't able to see it, but Robert will be able to see it. Pythia's talking to Kitty. I can tell Kitty's not even listening to her because, Pythia's talking and then Kitty's just like looking at the camera like she's on The Office or something. Like she's Jim.
That's why
from
I
The
stopped
Office.
watching Abbott Elementary. I'm like, get a
does
new
Abbott
shtick.
Elementary do that?
Girl, they stare in the camera more than they stare into the other actor's eyes. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, but Kitty and Queen, Kitty, I will say, is smoother in it because we'll talk about Queen in a second, but they're so producing themselves so hard. Queen, Kitty's just like, I'm just going to play to the audience and they're going to love me. Queen is doing this thing, and we'll see this because she's doing it throughout the whole thing. We'll just move on over here. It feels very kid who sits in the front row of a lecture and just keeps raising their hand or answering questions. Now, because they're doing a roast, Queen is now roasting everybody at the table. Did you notice? So she's at the table, and now
yeah,
Queen is doing a table visit with Nehellenia and who I don't know who she's with, Nehellenia and somebody, and she's like, what you got, babes? Nehellenia, you're stupid and ugly. And then whoever the other person is, I don't know who it was. And I was like, first of all, you're not. Why does it feel like you're doing a table visit? You're not RuPaul. And then listen to this. Later, going back to Kitty, they kind of gloss over this, but Tessa nails Kitty. She nails her. Like, it's so funny because Tessa sucked on the reading on the roast, but she read Kitty for filth, but they just kind of glossed over it when she told her that she does something about you're gonna come up with original jokes because all your reading jokes were stock jokes.
Got her ass.
And Kitty was like, they're always original with me, and then goes and does a roast with stock jokes.
Yeah.
But you know what it reminds me of? And I put this note somewhere. I'm just going to say it now because it's true with Queen and Kitty. I was friends with this girl, right? She was really pretty. And we used to go to California Pizza Kitchen all the time.
Okay.
Every week.
Good. Okay.
And one time I went there and we were hanging out, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but I said something that made her laugh so hard she had to go to the bathroom and vomit. Okay?
Wow. At CPK?
At CPK. So then later she told this guy who was a total like white frat boy bro named Reed. She told Reed that this had happened. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm funnier than Joe. Let me go to CPK and I will fucking make you vomit. Right?
Okay. Who knew Reed Jobs was over here a comedian?
Yeah. So the next time we go to CPK, which is the next week, he and his boys come and meet up with us. And then all he does is recycle lines from Anchorman.
Oh, the straight male humor Bible girl.
Yeah.
Maybe like, throw in a little bit of Step Brothers.
I don't think Step Brothers was out yet. I think this is like around the time of Anchorman. And it's like, because then also Borat was a thing for a while.
Oh, I was in middle school for all this. I remember.
What is the current white frat boy movie go-to quote thing right now?
Well, I don't spend too much time with that demographic anymore.
I don't know. Maybe people will tell us.
I don't know. Yeah, they're probably busy gearing up for fantasy football right now.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. So anyway, and this is what this reminds me of: is Kitty and Queen think they're super funny because they have these stock jokes in their arsenal. I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to say something controversial. And this is no offense to this queen, because I'll even say I think she's good at this. It's kind of Bianca Del Rio's shtick too.
Well, we've said that, yeah.
Yeah, she just has a better memory and better catalog and knows how to use them better.
Mm-hmm.
But her jokes are pretty fucking, I mean, housekeeping, is that really super fucking original?
Oh, we stole your purses. Oh.
So, but Queen and I would never put Queen and Kitty in the same caliber as Bianca Del Rio. And they think they're super original, and they're not. Thank you. So during the introduction, I call it a staircase welcome, even though there's no staircase in this show. RuPaul says you are going to get a master class in roasting with a surprise celebrity guest.
I'd forgotten that he promised that.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I know Graham Norton's here. Does he bring a famous comedian with him or something?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just Graham Norton. Now, by the way, Graham Norton is very funny. So I'll even give Graham Norton this, right?
Yeah.
But never talked about roasting. He just had like a chat with them and was just like, oh, who are you? What's your story? Have you won anything? No? Oh, okay. What? Oh, that's nice. What about you? And just did a meet and greet.
Toast.
Yeah, did a meet and greet and then left. The whole time Queen, of course, again, front row, she's sitting right next to him. And then she's making her stupid fucking jokes. And then she also said the thing too, this is how you know someone's not funny, when they say a joke and then they immediately guffaw right after their own joke. And that's 100% Queen Kong. 100% like, I don't know, she's ugly.
Well, yes. And I have to say, I recognize my own speech patterns in that a little bit, but only in the way that I think that I've grown past that a bit. But I think that this is, unfortunately, Queen's, she thinks it's funny to just be blunt and mean and then laugh as a way of saying, I'm not being serious, I'm just clowning with you. But it's just, especially in concert with everything else that's been going on all season, it's like, no, you're actually just calling someone a bitch and calling them rude or calling them ugly. It doesn't hit. It doesn't. It's not giving what you think it is at all. It's just making you look worse.
And what's really funny is she should have known what she said on this show. First of all, she says two things that are very ironic during this whole thing. One, in a confessional, she goes, in Down Under, we all roast each other. Girl, it's a whole thing. I don't remember my lips. It's a whole thing that we're doing down there. Yeah, we're mean to each other. We're retards. You better grab your purse, bitch, because we're going to come for you, right? And then she goes to this Graham Norton. And she goes,
God, this is
I have a serious question. Well, she brings up again in Elimination Day.
Yes.
How do we not get canceled? By the way, she doesn't say anything cancelable in her fucking roast set, right? And two, it's like, this fucking bitch is so worried about offending other people. She's so worried that no one has a thick skin. Because she's like, and everyone's so fucking sensitive. This bitch has been on this fucking social media since the show, crying. Everybody's mean to her because she's a person of color. I'm a person of color. I don't like you.
I've said this the last few weeks.
You're unoriginal.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, why didn't anyone do that joke?
That's true. Well, they probably didn't even think about it. But I mean, it's frustrating, I guess, and it really only gives more evidence to what I've said the last few weeks, is that like Queen will sit around and be like, rah, rah, I'm an activist, bow down because my moral superiority. And that, like, I'm maybe going to throw her a bone here and say, in an ideal world, the producers asked her to be the one to helm this cancel conversation, which is an asinine decision to begin with. But she knows what's cancelable and what isn't, because I would put money on the fact that she's probably one of the first people to say we should cancel X person for saying Y.
Yeah.
Or Z.
And she should know, because she's going to get this season canceled. It's going to be a one and done Global All-Stars because of her.
No. I hope not, because so many other international girls deserve the exposure, and I'm optimistic that they can maybe shake up the formula next season if they have one. But regardless, I just thought that Queen bringing it up then was stupid, and like, you should know the answer to your own question, Diva. Why are you asking Graham, a white man from the UK, who's lovely, but like, he's not going to give you any real response? That's a good point.
She asked an old white man from the UK, a privileged white man who's rich and a celebrity, how do you not get canceled? Yeah. Who, by the way, all props to him, but the reason he gets gigantic celebrity guests is because he does the most milquetoast fun show in the UK. He's not, that's the last person you ask. He's like, don't ask anything controversial. And you got celebrities on your show.
Just be the giggling gay friend. It's pretty easy. But she brings it up again, which is what led me to think that this had to be, please talk about your mother dying in front of the mirror so that we can have this conversation,
100%. I will give Kitty this, even though I think her motives were not right. She did make a good lineup. I mean, she did have this perception that she and Queen were the best, and that's how she did it. And she gave Alyssa what she wanted, which is to be in the middle. But she was right, if you're doing a roast, unlike a regular stand-up comedy thing, you want to go first because... And what's funny is I think Tessa was like, "Oh, because you want to use up all the good jokes first." I'm like, "Yeah,"
which I would 100% absolutely true.
Yeah, I would 100% put myself first in a roast.
Well, I'll say this because the episode didn't, like I said, I have fewer notes, but I remember thinking this: when has the roast order ever mattered at all? When have the judges ever said, "Oh my God, your jokes were so funny, but you were second, and so we forgot about you towards the end," or, "Oh, if you had only gone last, then we would have loved your set," or never has this been a tangible thing. It's just the only thing that Drag Race knows how to make a storyline out of their roast episode, and it's the same boring beats every time.
You know what? That's a really good point because, I'm giving my knowledge based on just standard stand-up comedy knowledge, but you're right. That's good advice when you are on a dais with like really good comedians who are going to have your joke, or the premise of your joke. So you need to be first. Yeah, you're right. Like, in other words, no one said you're unoriginal instead of aboriginal. They're not going, if you have any kind of talent, you can go whenever on this roast because there's not
exactly. Which the more secure queens have said. She's like, I don't care where you put me in the lineup, bro. I'm going to do good either way. Which, not in this season, but in past seasons. I appreciate when a queen's like, I'm just not going to engage in the same boring, dance.
All right. Now, Elimination Day. It's not a long one, but do you have any thoughts on it?
No, just that my note was, again, Queen bringing up the cancel conversation. And as usual, the drag queens don't have really anything new or fresh to say on the topic. So I don't know why Drag Race is insistent on bringing it up over and over and over again.
I will say Alyssa did give a serious answer to it. And then Kitty was like, let's spread positivity. And then goes into the fucking confessionals. Is like, Nehellenia is a stupid cow and she's not funny. God, I really did. And I saw someone on Reddit be like, guys, Kitty's getting a lot of hate on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, she should.
I'm going to take this brief moment to say that on the last couple of weeks, I kind of said that like the UK seasons don't tend to be my vibe, but the UK 6 premiere happened and it was a great, lovely time.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that will be brought up again when we do the final wrap up on the show.
Oh, okay, then I'll save it.
About that. No, you can talk about it if you want. I'm just saying. Oh man, yes, you're right. Let's talk about this roast, the Rich International roast, Robert. And we'll go down the line. Kitty, what did you think of Kitty's roast?
I thought it was just really generic. Not a single thing was said that I haven't heard 10 billion times before in better formats and better punchlines. And it wasn't bad. Nothing was bad. It just happened.
Well, what's funny is it's so bizarre is she even calls out the unoriginality of this set in the middle of her set. And she goes,
which I appreciate.
And here we go. The RuPaul is old jokes. And I'm like, yeah, everyone does this.
I actually would appreciate a set that takes that all the way to the bank and then just does the whole fucking set as a meta. This is what a Drag Race roast is and just runs with that.
Yeah, but I don't think any of them are that talented. What you're saying reminds me of when Norm Macdonald. There's one, I think it's the roast of Gilbert Gottfried. Goes up there with an old joke book.
Okay.
But they're all flattering jokes. He's like, Gilbert Gottfried's here, everybody. Man, what a generous bloke. He's more generous than like Ralph Bunch or something like that, right? And you're like, and they were obscure, like arcane references, and everybody's dying laughing because it's so weird.
Yeah.
And but they don't have those sort of comedy chops. Vanity Vane.
Okay, this was kind of iconic, I gotta say. You were talking about your dad going to church. Do you remember in Catholic church when it doesn't matter what the fuck the psalm is, it doesn't matter what the lines are, they will fit it into the damn predetermined melody no matter what. You know, they're like, and then suddenly Jesus Christ and all of his followers went to the lake.
Yeah.
And just they'll do that. That was Vanity Vane's set. I don't know if I was cackling or howling, but I cracked a smile or three. It was a good time for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it was. I'm with you. It was iconic. It was so bad. And I will give her, and I clearly saw that she has this thing because she did it during Manamana. When she wants to be funny, it's that she's like confused and looking around the room.
Yeah.
Because this thing that she does when her being funny is like, looking around the room, confused. I'm lost.
She's watched too much Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes, 100%. Or remember that? God, this is so old. Remember there was that gif that would go around of like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, like looking around. She was kind of doing that too.
The classic poke. Pythia's, I thought, like I said, top of show. I don't think it was awful. I think that if she had more confidence in herself, she would have been able to deliver some of those punchlines a little bit more strongly, and she would have been safe. Maybe low, but safe, I thought.
Okay, it's funny that you say this, and I'm gonna they're both different, but I'm gonna tie it in with Tessa, where they weren't the best, but they were not as bad as the show made it out to be.
Yeah.
And this is part of my whole thing, where it was like they told the judges panel, no matter what Pythia or Tessa don't laugh, because they, at least some of the jokes, not all the jokes, some of the jokes were okay and weren't that far off from like what Queen or Kitty were doing, and they got nothing. It was just silence, crickets. And I was like, okay, not every joke hit, but some of them were pretty fucking good. And it would be like Queen would be like, Alyssa's here. No, this did happen. Tessa had a joke about Alyssa's hairline, and Rue and Michelle were just like, and then Kitty says something like, Alyssa's hairline is so far down her back, it started a union. I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
I think that was Queen, yeah, and it was just like, okay.
And they were, it really was. And I was like, that wasn't that funny. It was very, very strange, and it was very, very unfair to these girls. All right, Alyssa Edwards, Robert.
I appreciated the callback to the Gemma Collins New York quote. I guess that's really the most comedic writing Alyssa had, which was, copy and pasting someone else's monologue. So that's Alyssa. That's funny. It could have been in the bottom too, to be honest with you. It was just directionless.
Do you think in the moment RuPaul knew what the fuck she was talking about when she made that Gemma Collins New York joke?
No.
And RuPaul, again, was... And that's when I was like, oh my God, this show is so fucking artificial. It's insulting.
Well, yes. I am certain that RuPaul thought Alyssa came up with that, though.
Oh, 100%.
He's probably going to start saying it like it's an original Alyssa quote.
Yeah, and I thought Alyssa's was whatever. And I think done by anybody else would have been in the bottom. She was using her charisma to 100%. just to carry it to the finish line. And okay, she did it. I mean, it was fine. It was whatever. Nehellenia.
Nehellenia did a good job, especially considering the obvious, which is that she said, I'm sure the concept of a roast exists in some fashion in Italy. It's not like they, have an iron curtain for comedic setups, but I get that that's not something that they do as commonly or ever. And she's not doing it in Italian, so she's coming up with humor in English. She's delivered it very well. She was clearly confident in her material. I thought she did great.
Look, it doesn't mean it was a great set, but for this one, I thought she was clearly the best. In fact, and we'll talk about, she should have won. She should have won.
I could have seen it. It would have been a good storyline also, but the show's they're determined to not give the winners the storyline, the payoff that would make sense.
And then finally, Queen Kong.
Well, there's Tessa as well.
Oh yeah, Tessa. I'm sorry. Tessa, go ahead.
Tessa, I would say she wasn't awful, and they were definitely forcing themselves to not chuckle at some of the silly shit she was saying. It wasn't great. I think that they didn't give her this note, but my note would have been to just look up from your damn cards, because no one's taking a roaster's joke seriously if you're not even looking at the audience when you're delivering them. It's just very shy, and it's just off. And that's what Tessa was doing. That's what I would have put her in the bottom, or kept her in the bottom, I guess, because of that.
So here's the thing. The premises of Tessa's jokes weren't bad. There were a couple that were halfway decent, but she took too long to get there.
Yeah.
They were too wordy. But some of them were like, yeah, they were clunky, but they were smart enough. They were decent enough for them to get a laugh. This is where you can tell that they were intentionally not laughing, because there was the one that was about this that she did rule of three, this, and then Michelle at the mall, it was a bottom or something.
Yes, that
joke was fine. Yeah, it was too long, but it could have gotten like a polite, but it didn't. They just did like a death stare at her, and I was like, okay, you're being a lot here. You really are. And then finally, Queen Kong.
I don't even know that I've articulated the way that I feel about it, because I didn't hate it. It wasn't bad. Yes, your racist joke is just boring from Queen's shallow rhetoric, but I guess it was perfectly serviceably safe, but nothing more than that.
I'll tell you what it was. I'll use a baseball metaphor.
I love baseball.
It's like she was at bat and she got hit with the ball. And I'm really going to extend this metaphor here.
Okay.
And so she walked to first, and then the pitcher kept fucking up and kept walking the bases. And we even walked her to the point where she got home. And she acted like she hit a home run.
But that sounds like Queen this season all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's an accurate representation of what happened in the roast.
She did. Oh, okay. I mean, it was a roast and it followed the rules. And again, it was not super original. She hit the same, old roast tropes. She didn't even read Kitty. She just had Kitty put her there because she was a person of color. But are there other people of color in this show? Or
not anymore.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Tessa looks mixed, possibly.
Yeah. And it just wasn't that good, and it wasn't worth that response.
Well, they're having the confessionals right after, them being like, oh, Kitty really set that on fire, and oh my God, Queen killed it. It was stupendous.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess it's good that they support each other.
But they're basing it. This is the problem. This is the whole emperor has no clothes element of it. They're basing what they say in the confessional on the way Rue, Jamal, Michelle, and Graham reacted. And so like, oh well, they laughed, so it must have been funny. But I was like, no, they're fucking playing you.
Well, we do lose a bit of that also being TV viewers. We're not in the room, so we can't really accurately determine how much the energy was electric or dead or what have you. We get a little bit of it, but we don't know it fully.
I think you're being very generous with them.
I'm
All right,
trying.
the runway. The runway was Blow Me Away. Robert, any big looks you want to talk about?
You know, it was a great concept, but I think the wind machines were great in general. I just don't think that the looks had a lot to say, either artistically or visually.
You kind of work sort of adjacent to this field, but they had the pit crew there, you know, in Speedos and no socks or shoes on, which seems very dangerous.
Okay,
in a studio,
Willem.
But I know it's a Willem thing, but okay, look, in the workroom, I'm like, whatever, it's not good. But on the actual main stage, it seems kind of dangerous. Am I wrong?
No, it's a Final Destination setup waiting to happen, girl.
Yeah. But then they're holding these little fans that you would get at Target for your desk.
Which is camp.
Well, where are the real fans?
I mean, it's a Columbia production moment.
Yeah. So, okay, I just wanted to run that by you. And then, okay. So, did you have any specific looks you wanted to talk about?
I think the only one that wowed me was Tessa Testicles.
Okay, so stop. So what I've done, and I'm going to do this for Hello Uglies, and for future episodes too.
Okay.
I consulted a fashion expert.
Oh.
I consulted AI Christian, who is here to describe the outfit for the audience. Here we go.
Oh, sure thing, doll.
Oh, wait, sorry. Hey. Hey, Christian, can you describe the outfit for us?
Sure thing, doll. Tessa Testicle takes the runway by storm. Literally. She's cloaked in shimmering silver fringe from head to toe. Her form-fitting bodysuit glistens like moonlit snow, while her structured metallic corset cinches her waist like armor. Her tall boots disappear beneath the swirling fringe, making her entire silhouette a dazzling blur of movement. Tessa truly embodies the wind, mesmerizing us all with her radiant, ethereal presence.
All right. Thank you, AI Christian.
Oh, that takes me back.
What did you, so what were you going to say about Tessa? Now that we guys heard what Tessa's outfit looked like, what did you want to say, Robert?
I mean, I don't know that I could say anything better than the fact that she truly embodied the wind. Like, fucking Nausicaa over here. I just liked it because it was sparkly and pretty, and Tessa continues to wear different silhouettes. She's not trapped in the same aesthetic rut that I find a lot of queens who are hyper developed get into. You know what I mean? So yeah. I just continue. We just love Tessa on this podcast if everyone hasn't noticed. So
yeah, you know, send hate to Kitty, but send love to Tessa.
And don't send hate to anyone.
All right, later on the main stage, Kitty Scott Claus and Queen Kong are named the winners of the challenge, while meanwhile, Pythia and Vanity Vane are placed in the bottom two, forcing them to face off in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song, I Drove All Night by Celine Dion. In the end, Vanity Vane was told, Shantae, you stay, while Pythia was asked to sashay away. Roberto Mata, any final thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, there was one moment in Untucked that I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Yeah.
And it's the most recent chapter in the Kitty Queen Nehellenia storyline. And I just thought it was a strange progression of that story for Nehellenia to be like happy that Kitty's praising her in essence. But Kitty praising her was so obviously like a mean girl being nasty to her. I thought it was very much like, oh, you did so well. You just look so pretty. And Nehellenia sort of took it at face value, and in the confessionals, like, oh, they accept me. They really love me. And it's just like, my queen. What?
Yes, 100%. 100%. They were being bitchy. Even if they were paying her a compliment, it was a compliment dripping in
condescension.
Yeah, condescension. Like, oh, you were so cute for you. You know?
And Michelle even said that to Nehellenia. You were so funny for you. I didn't expect this.
Yeah. And it's like, but this is the thing, because I think the show, what I want to say right now, because this is a good segue into this. is when I told you this episode broke me. I want to say that the comments I'm saying are confined to this season. Because this season, so not the show itself, we can say the show itself is cruel, but this season, the show is unabashedly cruel. Like what you can see, we will see it next week, but you can see on the show that Nehellenia is devastated on the main stage. She has a vacant look on her face during the whole dancing thing. You can see when they send them back to the back, she's like crying. There's blank look on her face. She's going to be crying next week. This fucking bitch cries anyway, right?
I was going to say, that's a sure bet.
Yeah. So, but you can already see it on the main stage before we even see what happens next week after the elimination. But it's cruel. This is Kitty's third win. Is it Queen's second win?
It's Queen's third as well. She won that acting challenge.
They didn't need the win, and they could still be way ahead of the pack. And Nehellenia doesn't have a win. Her look was good. She got compliments on her look. Why they couldn't give her the win for a win that means nothing? It's just another feather in the cap for Queen and Kitty. Is cruel. It's fucking cruel. They're mentally torturing her because they know, you just said that for sure she'll be crying. They know she will cry. And so they intentionally did not give her the win so that she cries. And I think
they bring it up all the time. Who here doesn't have a win? Who here doesn't have a badge? Oh, Nelly. Every time.
It's cruel. And there's something about this season that's very, very mean-spirited. It's a mean-spirited season. It's mean to Nehellenia. The favoritism and the riggery, to use an Alyssa phrase, is off the charts. I think they're being mean to Alyssa, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, maybe there's going to be some sort of turnaround. I mean, look, Alyssa's been, I can't think of an episode where Alyssa has placed where she should, actually. But is there an episode where Alyssa should have been higher than she was?
No. Okay, never mind. I love Alyssa.
Yeah, they're not mean to Alyssa, but...
Well, they're keeping her safe in a sense that, like, it's clearly weighing on her. And there has been some alleged background tea. It's kind of spoiler territory that she, like, threw a fit because she was safe all the time. And they haven't shown that in any of the footage.
Yeah, so but just the favoritism, just the rank favoritism that's going on in this season, I'm not enjoying watching this show. And so you said you watched UK season 6, episode 1. We heard the same thing about España. We've been hearing this about the Philippines. We're hearing this about Thailand, that there are seasons with and without RuPaul that are joyful, that are fun to watch. And so what I was saying to you, we're going to continue doing this show, but what I was suggesting in the moment on Friday was like, well, why not spend my time on a drag race show that's fun?
Sure.
You know, I could sort of see the dedication. We're going to do it, Robert, but I could see the dedication if it was the flagship season or All Stars where more people watch them. But I don't even know if I get the sense, besides diehards, are people watching Global All Stars?
Well, a lot of people are. If they hadn't abandoned in the last few weeks, it felt like this was the final straw.
Yeah. So today I was looking for the runway on YouTube. So I could take a screenshot to give to AI to show
AI
Tessa's
Christian.
look. AI Christian, yeah. And I saw a whole list of YouTube videos like Bussy Queen and whatever show, blah, blah, blah. But they're all talking about how this episode and this season, they're doing analysis of why is this season horrible and this episode in particular. And so I don't know if you had any thoughts on this, Robert, especially one who watches all the other seasons as well.
I think that's actually, for me, the main sticking point. I realized this episode, I've always kind of known it, but I don't think I articulated it to myself until this episode, where I realized that I have so much more respect and curiosity and fascination for these queens than the show does. The show doesn't give a fuck about any of these international queens. They're either using Kitty and Queen to their own ends, so whatever about that. But at least I'll speak on the non-English speaking seasons. I've realized that the judges, and I hate this, I wish the judges clearly have never seen any of their seasons. Not one.
Yeah.
So they never have any ability to reference their growth in previous seasons. They can never reference like any of their internal jokes, any of their country's, cultural touch points. As far as they're concerned, they're on Drag Race for the first time. They've just shown up. They're baby queens. Let's condescendingly, treat them as if they need to be built up rather than the fucking superstars that they were on their respective seasons. And I've seen that on most of I haven't seen every single season, but I've seen most of them. And so like I came into this season being like, I can't wait to see what runner-up Galavado does. I can't wait to see what Miranda does. I can't wait to see what Pythia does. And I realize now the show just doesn't care about that at all. I personally, Robert, am more invested in the show's supposed message of like global queer sisterhood and their own art and having that being represented on a global stage than the show itself is. RuPaul and Michelle and Jamal, no disrespect to Jamal because he's new at this, but they just don't give a fuck about their own franchise's lore. And it's upsetting to me as a nerd who loves lore and loves the queens.
Even more offensively is they have the resources where, because one might think, well, do you think RuPaul's going to watch every fucking episode of every fucking season? But they have the resources that they have a PA that could do a rough cut of just only the moments for each queen from their season and their looks that they could watch on the flight from LA to wherever.
More or less,
be done.
Yeah.
They could just watch, okay, this is, here's Galavado's, all her looks, all the big moments with her. This is what you should know. Like a briefing thing that they would probably take 4 hours to watch. They could watch in little pieces. And they didn't even do that. They couldn't do that. And
why do I care about this show more than the people in charge?
Well, like I said, because I think I will say at a certain degree, RuPaul's being pulled in too many different directions. She shouldn't be doing as many shows, nor Michelle. I think they're just running from one place to another and they just don't have the bandwidth to even care.
Well, they don't even have the energy that they care.
Yeah, no, they don't. And there is a gross negligence. It feels like, which is so funny because when you're playing on a sports team in Little League or school and one of the dads is the coaches, often I feel that parent will go out of their way to make it seem like they're not favoring their kid.
Sure.
But this one seems like they're not caring. It's like, no, we're gonna put Kitty and Queen and Alyssa in everything that we want, and the other kids don't matter. And we're gonna pull them, but not the. It's really mean. And so this isn't a sign that I've given up on Drag Race because what's funny, and this is the one thing I'll say, is I could see then going to UK and RuPaul's amazing, and on the flagship season she's amazing.
Not on the UK, no. She's the worst part of the UK, in my opinion.
Oh, she is.
It's a part of why the vibes are always off.
She doesn't understand. She'll be like,
it's the same American shit.
I'm playing Anthony Neville, and she's like, I don't know who that is. And you're like, oh, God, this shit.
You should do a British cowboy. That'd be funny.
Did she really say that?
No, but you can imagine her saying that very easily.
Yeah.
I had hoped, in a weird, cynical hope, that like this Global All-Stars show was created so that they could advertise all the Paramount Plus franchises. You like Drag Race? We're going to introduce you to one of our best queens from Brazil so that you can go and watch Drag Race Brazil. That's a simple, basic capitalism, right? But they played in our faces and then just said, we're going to cut Miranda as soon as possible, not give you really much context about who she is as a person or a queen. And then leaving all these Drag Race fans who might have become very invested in this queen and wanted to go back and view their other properties. Just like, it just feels bungled on multiple fronts. I don't get it. But I'm also not that production executive, so.
It's a big mistake because if you look, I mean, obviously it's going to change now, but maybe not. There's somebody on Reddit who's tracking Instagram gains every week. And Galavado, I don't know if this is still the case, but up until she left, was slaughtering everybody every week. So it's like, well, why were you so mean to her?
I mean, she's one of the gems of production that production just didn't care for. And I don't get it. I mean, Mexican fans are, obviously going to support their girl also, but other non-Mexicans could have been enticed to watch Drag Race Mexico if they had made Galavaro more of a compelling character than she's been able to, break out her own. So,
well, that's why I'm hoping the Emmy loss might give a little spark. I strangely do think they strangely care about that. And because I think there was like a sort of sense of just resting on their laurels. Like, we can do whatever the fuck we want and we're going to win the Emmys and we're always going to do well. It's not going to be until something happens that we're going to see a big change on that show.
Maybe. So. I mean, I think it's too late for US Drag Race, but I mean, they do care about it because I've been to one of my shows was winning the Emmy every single year. And the year that it didn't win, that Emmys after party was some of the most somber shit. I had to get one beer and dip. I was like, enough of you.
And by the way, really just another quick mean thing is Kitties won 3, Queens won 3. The way they were such ungracious winners when they won, hooping and hollering and jumping up and down, I just can't with them. I just can't. Any other final thoughts, Robert Mata?
I think that's about it for this week. I noticed in the preview that they're bringing all the divas back again. So as much as I'm going to complain about what everything is happening right now, at least next week I get to see all my girls back.
And Athena looks like a different person.
Yeah, I think it was the facial hairs doing a lot of work there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she has been gone for a hot minute.
Yeah. She has been gone probably for like a month by this point. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next weekend every week as we continue, Robert, to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Global All-Stars Season 1. So, for Roberto Mata and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can also email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. This podcast was produced by Sabrina Vadabancourt. You can follow Robert Mata on Instagram at RAWB54. Follow Joe Batance on Instagram at Joe Batance. Special thanks to these expensive tier Patreon supporters: April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Derek Byers, Doofus Maximus, E. Smith, Effie Wap, Emma, Phil Skit Pony, Flying Suki, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Kathy Zender, Lauren Eckert, Lucy Carrasco, Luke Stamen, Mary S., Mike Yeager, Mickey Baker, Mickey Pettit, Poppy Woods, We've Gotta Go Edita, Robert NYC, Sarah Yu, Runner Brandon, Tom Bombs, Travi Cosmos, and Troy Anderson. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.